Good morning, everybody. This is David Walker, and welcome to the fifth in our series of Facebook Lives around the unwanted change curve. This morning, we have Zoryna, who's going to talk to us about depression. Zoryna.
Thank you, David, and hello, everyone. Best wishes to you from the Isle of Wight, which is getting a little bit of sun at last today, because at the beginning of the morning, it was very appropriate for the topic of our webinar. It was very sort of depressive and very dark and gloomy, but now sun is coming up again. So today we are talking about depression, depression stage of the curve of how we are dealing with unwanted change. And I'm now trying to show you the oh yes, wait, this slideshow. Just please bear with me for 1 second. And this is our curve, which you can see that in previous webinars, you looked at stage shock with me, denial, and then frustration with my colleagues from the Changemaker group, Kathy and James. And today, you are back with me again, and I want to remind some of the people who attended my webinar about shock and joined us and didn't watch our first webinar about shock. Am I okay? David, it looks like I have been muted at some stage somehow. Did you hear me at all or not?
Yeah, no, it may have been me. I clicked the wrong mute button. It was a fraction of, it was about, what, 2 seconds. You'll find.
Okay, no problem. Excellent. Thank you very much, David. So today, I just want to remind or tell you about the very, very helpful model, which is used to explain what is happening in our brain, because it does help us to understand then how we can deal with what is happening. And it is called the brain in the palm of your hand model, which was developed by medical doctor Daniel Siegel. If you imagine that my fist is a brain, and if we open my fingers deep inside of the brain, we will have an amygdala, part of the brain which, as you know, is responsible for our fight or flight response, for stress reaction. It's almost like our alarm system of the brain. And then it comes to hippocampus, part of the brain responsible for formation of memories and also for coming down amygdala. And some surrounding areas around the amygdala and hippocampus, they are called limbic system. Okay. So we are going back to our brain in the palm of the hand model, where we have amygdala and limbic system inside the brain, and we have prefrontal cortex covering amygdala. Prefrontal cortex is part of the brain which is thinking brain. And so what is happening when our senses detect that something is going wrong in our environment, that we are in potential danger, our amygdala rings an alarm. And when it's happened, we have injection of adrenaline in our blood, in our system, and our prefrontal cortex disengages, almost like, state, we are in a state of panic and shock. And in this state, you can't talk yourself out of this, to come down the limbic system with grounding, with your special measured breathing, deep breathing, and so forth. But after shock finished, and we go into other stages on the curve of change, stages such as denial and frustrations, those stages of the change curve, they are associated with very, very strong emotions. And you know yourself from your experience, when emotions are very, very strong, it is exhausting being in the state where we are constantly have to deal with those strong emotions. And so after the peak of emotions, we are going straight down, we are going into depressive state. And in this depressive state, what is happening with us is a different type of hormone start being activated in the system. It is cortisol. Cortisol is often called the Goldilocks hormone because you have to have it just right in order to be healthy. If you have not enough of it, you are not functioning properly, or if you are having too much of it, you are getting into a state of the chronic stress. And chronic stress has exceptionally negative consequences they activate our amygdala, but not enough to take the lead off to get us into a state of shock. So our lead is constantly flipping. It's almost in out. It's not completely in. It's not completely out. It is flopping on the wind somewhere in between. And so, why it is so important to understand? Because when our lead is almost there, almost in place, but not yet, in addition to calming your limbic system with your breathing, mindfulness, and grounding, you can actually talk yourself out of this condition. You can use a lot of cognitive therapies. You can use self-talk. You can use um, visualizations, a lot of other techniques I will be telling you about in order to stop this escalation of your stress response, chronic stress response, and slowing your descent into a depressive state. And when we are talking about depression in relation to unwanted change curve, I want you to remember that it does cover not only depression as a clinical depression, as a disorder, as a type of different disease associated with it, but it also covers depressive responses. Depressive responses are those responses where our behavior starts shutting down, where we respond negatively to things which are happening around us. And you don't have to be in a bad place really to have negative thinking, because our brains, they're programmed, they're designed to search out for danger, to search out for anything that potentially can damage or kill us. So we are very good at spotting negatives, and we are very good at focusing on all those negatives. And when we do this, we forget about all the positive things that are around us. We just filter them out. Our brain is searching for negatives, focusing on them, uh, just in case that it might be useful to keep us safe. So it is quite natural state. It's called negativity bias. And bias is like a shortcut system. It's almost like type of autopilot. Our brains, they love operation, and autopilot or bias sort of shortcut is very energy efficient. Our brains take a lot of energy from our body, so brains are trying to be as energy efficient as possible, and so it gives another argument why we have this negativity bias. And what is happening that at the time when we are stressed, when we're in a state of chronic stress or depressive state, at the bottom of this curve of dealing with unwanted change, we are more likely not just to notice negatives, we are more likely to amplify them. We are more likely to perceive everything which could be neutral in a negative way as well, if we are not careful, if we allow our brain to work on autopilot. Fortunately, because our lead is almost in the right place, it's flopping there, very close to where it should be, in a state of balance, we are able to do something about it consciously. We are able to use our mind and our thinking in order to create a balance in our body and mind. And when we are talking about balance, I want to remind you that first of all, we need to focus on things which ensure our basic well-being. Those things such as having enough good quality food, and I'm talking about food which is conducive for mental health. Very often Mediterranean diet is quoted, and it is evidence-based quote, that it is very good for our mental health and may even prevent development depression and depressive thoughts. It is making sure that we sleep enough, because during the sleep our brain is being cleansed. There is cerebrospinal fluid flow increases significantly when we sleep, and it washes out all chemical waste that is created through the functioning of the brain while we are in a state of awakening and our normal day. It is also very important to remember that we need to exercise. Exercise is incredibly important for our physical and mental well-being, is one of the top priorities. And we can exercise either inside of our homes or in our gardens who have them, or walking outside as much as it is possible within the situation of our lockdown. The next thing is we need to remember that we need to play. We need to seek pleasure and joy in our lives. Doesn't matter how big or small it is. Just find it, create space for it, and focus on it. One of the reasons why it is important is apparently, according to research, if you want to keep a good mental balance of our mind, we need to have a certain ratio of negatives, which brain readily give us. It's designed to do so, and positives, which takes a little bit longer. It takes an effort to notice all those positive things. So the ratio is for each one negative, we need to find at least 3 positives. This is in our normal state. When we are in our low mood, in a depressive state, we need to get probably up to 5 positives for each one negative, which we notice without taking any effort. And this is where we need to focus our attention and our mind to notice all those positives. Another interesting thing about our brain, which will help us to deal with depression on the curve, is the fact that when we are thinking of something, imagining something, or experience something in real life, our brain sends to our body exactly the same signal. So, in other words, our brain doesn't understand the difference between things that are imagined and things that are real and going on around us right now. And we can use this quality of our brain to our benefit. So, as an example, if you are feeling really low, you can think about memories or experiences you had where you felt incredibly powerful, incredibly happy. You just achieved something maybe, or just had some other really good experience. Bring this memory to your mind and savor it. Focus all your senses. Remember how you felt, what you heard at the time, what you have seen at the time, what other experiences you had. And when you do this, your brain will think that this is exactly what you're experiencing now. And so your mood will lift and you will get a flood of all hormones, oxytocins and other hormones, which are associated with happy, with good state. And your mood will improve significantly. You can also use positive affirmations, which are where you are telling yourself that you are strong, that you have enough resources to deal with all those things that that are coming your way, all difficulties, that you manage to survive and flourish despite all previous experiences, and you will continue surviving and flourishing and achieving much more because you have so many useful resources. reminding yourself about your strengths, about all the qualities which make you who you are and make you a success, has another opportunity to lift your mood and feel much better when you are feeling low. And also, you need to start practicing priming. If you never heard about it, it is a technique when you are telling yourself, you are preparing yourself for good things. For example, if you are having trouble sleeping, in the evening you can go to bed and say, I look forward for the good night sleep. I will enjoy sleeping in my bed, maybe seeing some positive dreams. I will be relaxed. I look forward to being relaxed and refreshed. And I look forward to waking up feeling refreshed and full of energy. This is you are conditioning yourself, you are giving command to your brain what you want to achieve, and your brain and mind will help you to achieve just that. In the morning, when you're waking up, you can say to yourself, I had a good night's sleep and I look forward to a day where I will be hunting for little pleasures. I look forward for my first cup of tea or coffee of the day. I look forward for my exercise. I look forward to other things that you have planned. And actually, it is important to say it to yourself, even if you don't feel like that. But the mere act of saying it will help your brain to take it as a command and help you to get there, because this is what you want and this is what your mind will help you to achieve when it is framed, when it is primed in this particular way. And as I said, do hunt for positives. Remember that for every one negative thought, if you are in a low mood, you need to have at least 5 of positive things. And they could be as small or as large as you can. Does not matter, but they should be positives. And you need to make an effort to find them, because our brain is not programmed to find positives. Our brain programs to find negatives. It will give them to you readily. So you have to do a little bit of work to find, identify, and savor all those positives that you will find. And another thing that is important for us in order to get out of this depressive state as quickly as possible is renewing your sense of purpose. Our life has changed. It has changed beyond recognition, beyond belief. We could never imagine that we will live in the way we live now. And here we are here. So what shall we do? And this is where it is very important for us to establish our new routine, which is suitable for environment where we are. Routine which take into account our self-care, where we step up our self-care. Routine which has also elements of something new and something enjoyable every single day. It's like little stepping stones, little events which you can enjoy, actions which you can enjoy through the day, so you can look forward to them and you can prime yourself to look forward to them. Also, learn new things. Learning is incredibly stimulating for our brain and mind. And when we are learning something, it gives us a sense of purpose, and also it gives us a sense of achievement. There are so many fantastic courses and videos about different skills, different crafts, different things we can learn. A lot of it is accessible free of charge, especially now. So please learn something new which will help you today and also will prepare you for flourishing in the new reality, in the new world that is now emerging. And the final one is help others. A lot of research shows that being altruistic and helping others does give us incredible boost of motivation and sense of well-being. So even if you are in a situation of lockdown, there are many things you can do for other people. You can contact them, ask how they are, you can find out opportunities to volunteer, and you can help to look after people maybe in your own household. When you are focused on others and helping them, you forget about your own suffering. Even physical sensation of pain are reduced when we are helping others, according to research. So this is how powerful it is. Help others, and when you are doing it, you will help yourselves. So just to recap what I said now through this webinar, remember that your lead is flopping. And in this situation, you can talk yourself out of this situation to help your lead to close so that you create a balance. And in order to do this, you need first to step up your self-care routine, making sure that all your needs, physical and mental, are met to the best of your ability. Secondly, you can use your brain and mind to lift your mood. You can talk yourself out of low mood. And of course, you can review and renew your sense of purpose. But the most important thing for me is to remember, although you're helping others and you can be focused on helping others way too much at times, remember that you can help yourself, you need to help yourself. And if you feel that it is difficult for you to cope, then please do ask for help. There is a lot of help available, and looking for help is a sign of resilience. Looking for help is a sign of mentally strong people. It is a sign of strength. So this is my final thing which I wanted to tell you. And if you have any questions, please ask now.
Well done, Zoryna. Everybody's really enjoying what you're saying. There are a number of questions. Obviously, you can perhaps give full answers in the chat after. Nikki asked, when you were talking about about depression and the negativity bias, and she says, well, depression often creeps up on you. How would you suggest we catch this early on to stop the negativity bias taking hold?
Well, one of the things with negativity bias and depression as well, it's sort of gradual process. Negativity bias is natural. It's happened to us all the time, and it is easy to miss it if you don't know that this is what is happening. But when you are aware that you have negativity bias, it's all constantly present. And when you are in a difficult situation, in a state of chronic stress, you are more likely to be negative because your brain perceives everything as hostile environment. So the signs, generally speaking, which are associated with depressive states are it's general negativity. Nothing pleases us. Nothing seems to be enough for us. Nothing is good enough. Things where we can find ourselves very restless. We can find ourselves in a state where we can reduce contact with others, or we can notice it in others when others are reducing contact. General life dissatisfaction. We can have a deep in our life, in our self-esteem. We suddenly start questioning ourselves. Are we good enough to deal with all of it? Are we strong enough? And we can feel quite sorry about ourselves, or we can just give up on ourselves in an extreme situation. So all those things you can notice if you pay attention to yourself, if you are self-aware. And that is why I always recommend that we need to cultivate self-awareness. We need to listen to our body. We need to listen to our mind and take a distance to respond rather than react. Deliberately engage our thinking brain so that we can deal with the situation in hand rather than react in a state fully activated by our amygdala.
Great. There are three questions, I think, around the positives.
Yeah.
Nikki Carew says, how would you suggest supporting someone who is in depression? Should we be finding the 5 positives for them? Mind she builds on that and says, can you build a positive bank for when it's needed? And the last part of it is, can you keep a would you suggest keeping a written record to remind yourself of the positives?
Well, everything that worked for you will be great. We are slightly different, but generally speaking, writing a journal, gratitude journal, journal of things to be grateful for, appreciations, is helpful. And you can look at them sort of retrospectively and think about all those things. When people are really, really in a very bad place, in a very low mood, to support them or ourselves, we can suggest that people can look at what are the smallest things to notice. Just help them. For example, did you have your cup of tea? Was it good? How do you like your tea? What do you like about it? Sort of draw on positives. What is growing in your garden if you have a garden? When we know people, we can draw their attentions to things around them, and it is very important to draw attention of people to things around them in their life, their own qualities, and have conversations which prompt people to think rather than give them full answers. Because what I find as a positive or will enjoy may not necessarily be the same as things that other people will enjoy, and it will have different effects. So it's gently nudging and probing people, helping them to move their thinking towards looking for positives and identify those positives as well as their strengths. And then at the end of the day, ask to practice positive affirmations, ask to write their journals, journal of things, list of things that they enjoyed, doesn't matter how big or small they were. When you prime your brain, when you tell your brain, look for positives, for things to enjoy, focus on enjoying them, this is what brain does. And it will be then, the more you practice it, the easier it will get, and people will enjoy this pleasure hunts.
Right. The last question from Simon Phillips. What's the best way to help someone who believes that negative outcomes, such as bad luck and failure, etc., is just the way of life for them?
Well, you can use coaching approach, and you can probe it. Think about times where you were successful. Think about times where you use your strengths and use your positives in your life, and it worked for you. All those things, they're there. We just need to help people to remember about them and to capitalize on them. Because remember, in the state of depression, shock, we focus on negatives. So widening this focus so we can see wider picture, more of the picture will help definitely. And the Mind Chi, which Nikki mentioned, there is a wonderful book, Mind Chi, Rewire Your Brain. You can get it on Amazon. It gives very well designed science and evidence-based program of how you can work with your brain to help it to flourish rather than just survive. And I think for the stage we are talking about, depressive stage, this is incredibly important tool and the program. So please do research it after this session. And the very final thing to remember is when you look on the graph with this curve, you will notice that depression is the lowest point of the curve. After that, everything goes up. And you can make this stage as short as possible by using those tips that I mentioned earlier, by using Mind Chi or other similar methods. I think Mind Chi is the most sort of comprehensive program. That is why I always recommend it. So you can make it short, and you can emerge on the other end much stronger than you were before and prepared to take the world.
Right, that's fabulous. That is the end of the questions, Zoryna. So if you can wrap up and
Okay. Thank you very much for your attention today and for your questions. Remember that you are now on the app, and my colleague Simon will start talking about how to get out of this curve, how to start getting ready for a new life where you are much stronger and more resilient than ever before. For now, thank you for your attention. I will put a little bit of more information in comments. And I look forward for next session at 3 o'clock, which Simon Phillips will deliver. Thank you and goodbye from the Isle of Wight.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and viewing this morning. And as Zoryna said, at 3 p.m. UK time, Simon will be talking about acceptance. Thank you very much and have a good day.